And so I've learned through observing so many lives. One of the reasons I think I have learned some neat stuff, and I think I've discovered some neat things that are, to me, are absolutely essential. Like there are things I'm going to be talking about in this workshop that I think if you don't do those things, and they pertain to the relocated chart and how you really understand it really accurately, I think there's things there that if you don't use those things, you are missing a ginormous piece of this puzzle. I don't
Mm.
think that astrocartography came out of Jim Lewis's head fully formed. You know what I mean? Like he got us going. He was brilliant. Like, but I mean, he was the first guy really promoting this in a very popular way. And there's no way the first guy who ever did that had the whole thing figured out all at once and that's it.
Right.
That's not the case. Trust me, it's definitely not the case. And I'm certified through the Jim Lewis Foundation Continuum. I think it's a great thing for everybody to do. Um, but he didn't really use the relocated chart a whole lot, and it wasn't really a big part of what he did. I mean, so I part of what I did was I was always looking at relocated charts, in addition to the other things you'd find on the map. Well, when I did that, I started to notice some things that no one had really taught me exactly, but it was just apparent from people's stories. So now that I've been doing astrology 31 years and locational astrology about 20 years, I think I've seen about 30,000 places where people have actually lived, and I got to ask them questions or read their notes. And that's what my intake is typically like. Like you'll send me like a history. Oh, I lived in New York City for these 3 years, and this is what happened there. And then I moved to San Francisco, and I was there for 5 years, and this is what happened there. Right. So that's how I prepare for everybody is I study their autobiography. I study their history. Again, and I try to track all of that. And if any of it doesn't make sense, I usually ask them questions like, oh, I thought this would have been better in this respect. What do you think about that? And often there's things that they left out of the story that kind of round it out better and it makes more sense. But I'm really experientially based. So I'm telling people things where I can say, I've seen this dozens of times, and it seems like 80% of the time it goes this way. So I just have, I think compared to maybe some people, like I just have a lot of practice, a lot of those anecdotes, a lot of those examples I've seen by trying to just see an absurd number of places that people have lived and understand how that really works. And then over time, like a real system emerged out of that I didn't like intend to create exactly, but it just became this thing that had its own internal logic. And I think it is an elegant, simple kind of logic. Like I'm into words like elegant and simple. I like
Mm.
elegant and simple. And I think when you have something that is truly real, like based on real astronomy, and elegant and simple, and has an internal logic that's consistent with astrology, it's remarkably powerful. It's like the skeleton of what we're doing. It's the structure that, you can always add more cool stuff on top, but I think I've kind of boiled some things down to a bit of a skeleton like that.